What does it mean to be a good friend? I think it's something a lot of us don't often take the time to pay attention to. Are we ourselves good friends to others? And do we have good friends in our lives? It's hard to really boil it down to a few simple ingredients. Like, are they kind, caring? Do they light up when they see you? Are they concerned about what's going on in your life? Do they just enjoy your presence? You know, in your life, you can meet so many different people from so many different places. And each individual is so unique in their own way. And you'll find these interactions with people, they can be kind of magical at times, even though there's this mundaneness of life that we can all experience. And, you know, you can just spend a few minutes with somebody at a mall or in some, even a like parking lot, anywhere. And there can be this moment that you share with that person, and there's just something about it that feels like it's important or significant, and it matters in your life. And then one day that person isn't in your life anymore. And you think about that moment that meant so much to you. Does it still matter now? Does it still have significance? It's funny how people can come and go out of your life. Sometimes people walk out of our lives, or we walk out of theirs for a host of different reasons. Sometimes it's a lack of compatibility. Sometimes you drift apart from somebody, or they drift apart from you. But what seems to be this valuable moment that you shared with that person stays with you. When you think about them, oftentimes your mind will go back to that moment that you shared with them. And it's almost like it crystallizes in your head. And it's there for you to look at and reflect. Maybe even appreciate that shared presence you have with that person. And of course, there's people who we also have negative interactions with as well. And that shapes us in a multitude of different ways. Sometimes when we think of that person, what comes to mind is something unpleasant. You don't like how they were behaving, perhaps how they treated you, whether that was with intent to be hurtful or even indifference when you really needed to be seen. So, when it comes to friends and the people you have around you, what is it that makes someone a good friend? Why is this person still in your life? And I don't mean that as a way to say, oh, okay, just remove everybody from your life. That's probably not a good suggestion. What I mean to say is, when I'm around this person, how do I feel? Do they make me feel good? Am I happy when I'm around them? What is it about being around this person that makes me feel good or bad, depending on who it is? It's kind of funny how our guts can usually tell us a lot about an individual, oftentimes on the first time we meet them. You know, you get a first impression of somebody and it kind of sticks. You know, it doesn't really go away. It takes a while before you kind of get to know that person, but oftentimes our gut impression is usually right. And you can go through this whole story arc of getting to know this person. And then you finally come to the crux where you maybe make a decision about, am I going to keep this person in my life or not? And if this person does leave your life in whatever manner, we have to look at that whole arc and we look back and we think, what did I think about that person when I first met them? And oftentimes our gut told us something. And maybe we chose to listen, maybe we didn't. But it feels like it's almost like this knowing beforehand, like this predetermination of how this relationship is going to go. And sometimes it's like we knowingly walk into situations where we know that this probably isn't a good fit for us, but we do it anyway. I'm thinking that I'm making this video as a reminder to think about people when you first meet them, you first interact with them, when you spend those first few moments around them, thinking about how do you feel around that person in those first few moments can kind of give you an indicator of what the rest of the relationship might be should it continue. I think from there, there's just a lot of valuable insight we can gather from that.